cousin did
Right.
happen the other way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, okay, my bad. Yeah. So your cousin, one guy. Yeah. Exactly. I remember I went to see Jerry Seinfeld do stand-up one time in Philadelphia, and he was making fun of the post office when he was like doing jokes about how painfully slow it is to go to the post office, and somebody yelled out, "You're not funny!" He goes, "Oh, are you a postal employee?" And the guy said, "Yeah," and everyone just lost it. He's like, "Oh, so I'm sorry, sir. We found the one, and not at your post office. Your post office is the only efficient post office. I'm sorry, sir." It was just a hilarious back and forth. But the anecdote, like this guy got pissed that his one post office was the anecdote. Yeah.
Do you think, I want to know this, like, do you think Pence, when he decided he was going to run for president, actually thought he had a chance? Do you think he sat there and thought, I think I really have a chance to be president. Yeah, I'm going for this.
I do, because I think that he thinks that he can maybe run on the appetite for January 6th as, like, I'm one of them who stood up against January 6th, that he thinks he's a hero of it. And also, he's very comfortable, for instance, when pushed on his fundamental religious beliefs, he was pushed a lot on sort of the more salacious details of Donald Trump's life, and he's very used to, like he did in this video, he sort of raises his chin and looks away, like, I'm above that question, and I will say words that make it go away.
Yeah.
And that's
if you read Bob Woodward's reporting on Trump, and you realize, like, you really realize how Pence was. Pence was there just to ride the coattails, just to make his way into the White House in this way, plucked from obscurity in Indiana to be taken in there. He really looked at this, looking at this as a total opportunity, and I think that's exactly what he can play. I'm the good Christian Republican, don't vote for Trump, he's the troublemaker, so I'm going to run against him now, and that's the strategy.
like, this is the Trump administration, but without the, like, controversy.
Yeah.
So that's what you'll get. Yeah, I'm sure he really is suffering from extreme disillusion.
I want to do one more, because I think this is, Pence one was bad, but perhaps worst of all, actually, was Tim Scott. And I say that because it's the clearest example that the GOP has no idea what a victory would look like in Ukraine. And what's the end game for us there? To send hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine and have hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians killed at the hands of NATO. He starts off by asking him if he supports sending cluster bombs to Ukraine, and he can't give any kind of a straight answer at all about that. Tim Scott says that he wants peace, so Tucker said, well, why not force a peace agreement like we already had in place before, and then it was stalled because the United States got in its way. Why don't we force a peace? We have the power to do that. We can absolutely do that. We can put fake governments in place, puppet governments. We can actually force a peace if we want it. And Tim Scott said, well, how do you do that? I have no idea. Watch this.
And the things will war very quickly, so why not force a peace? How would we do it? Well, you could tell Ukraine, we've been the client state of the United States without American backing, there's Ukraine. We're literally paying the salaries of their bureaucrats. We want me to sit down, as they tried to do, but were stopped by our government, and stop this war. And reach a peace as one does, where both sides, concede some of their interests. Like, why wouldn't that be in our interest to do that?
I think that so we get the peace and better off we are. What we don't want to do from my perspective is allow ourselves to ask for a premature peace that cannot be achieved as the alliances continue to come together to the extent that we can find our path out of this situation. We're better off we are.
So what's the point at which we know that we've achieved our goal? And I say that within the context of having watched 20 years of occupation in Afghanistan, where nobody could answer the question, what's the point? And no one in Congress ever asked that question. Amazingly. So what is the specific goal here?
Yeah, so I would say that the objective should be
What a shitty sense of humor.
Zelensky and Ukraine to be able to achieve victory by maintaining as much of their territory as they possibly can, and then seeing the resources that we deploy along with our Western alliances, achieving the peace that I believe comes when we get these two folks to sit down and have a conversation that allows them to determine where those lines will be drawn for the next 100 years. Yeah, that's called a word salad.
That's how you talk if you only read CNN.
Or watch CNN.
Right.
Yeah, maybe read CNN. Yeah, we're going to bring together our allies in the world.
No common sense. Steady thinking about bullshit.
And taking back and making sure they can have the land and our alliance is
What a
together.
shitty sense of
And then we
humor.
advance in that alliance, and then we have land and Zelensky and alliance. What the hell are you talking about? What does that even mean? I have no idea what you're talking about. It's a total word salad. And you're running for president of the United States. One of the most important questions of our time right now is, will we go to World War III with Russia? Will we actually put boots on the ground? President Biden's doing that. 3,000 reservists being called up to deploy to Europe, sending more weapons and more quickly, and developing a future force for Ukraine. I mean, what could be more important?
Sorry, I love the voice effect. That's the thing that really bothers me about these people. They can say this word salad because nobody ever challenges them on it. So they're like, they'll say their word salad, and then their team comes out the next day. Well, what he really meant was, after they have time to put it through their PR spin and what he was really trying to say. But like that's the thing, like not letting them just say those word salad things and putting pressure on. We see who they really are, and these people don't know what the hell they're talking about.
And they'll be clamped down further. You're right about that, because as we tighten the field, there'll be less of these events, and they'll be just much more handled and focused, and you won't get to have these questions. You won't get to have the sort of free-form, conservative political action committee discussions, free-form flowing conversations in a much more controlled environment. And we won't get these moments. You'll have a much more robotic Mike Pence. And, dodging questions, not answering the questions, and there'll be more of this crap. But this is your GOP field right now. This is what you've got. You've got one guy who, whatever you think of him, he's going to be handed a new pile of indictments, and he's pro-peace in Ukraine specifically. He was defending Xi Jinping, saying, he doesn't hate America, he just loves China. That's what Trump was saying. He's saying, he doesn't want to bomb America, he loves China.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We're going to see, but they're not going to allow a pro-peace candidate to get very far.
It just really feels like these guys, either they really want war, or they just don't study. Like, they just literally don't do your homework.
Right, so it's the default setting, or is it the easier thing to do?
Or both. Yeah. It's like, the bit about, studying in order to, present your message as war propaganda, at least that takes some kind of homework. But the sort of laziness of, the politician we saw a couple weeks ago that didn't even know where the Donbass was, you cannot say shit about the war if you don't know where Donbass is and don't know that it's been raging there since 2014. Then shut up, say nothing about the war, and go back and do your reading, and go back and do your homework.
He said, that politician was like,
I'll look that up. I don't know.
I don't know anything about Donetsk. I don't know anything about the Donbass. I don't know anything about genocide, but I'm very pro-peace.
No, but Putin's a madman, so we need to keep going. So this idea, watching these people say these war rhetoric things, feeling like they don't do their homework, that is the one thing I cannot abide. You don't know what you're saying. You're just saying political speak.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say, the one president that challenged that actually got in, that realized peace and tried to push for peace, was in the 60s, and we know what happened to him.
Yeah.
So they do not want peace in this country.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why RFK Jr., it's a very interesting candidate right now. And with closing military bases around the world, do you think that they're going to let Robert F. Kennedy Jr. become president? I mean, come on now. Do you think that that's going to happen? And when I say that, what I mean is the deep state, the people that control the donors, the people that control the media, all of it. I'm not saying something nefarious is going to happen, who knows, right? But what I'm saying is that the people that pushed Trump out are the very same people that do not want a pro-peace candidate. Absolutely not, because it's way to lose them. trillions of dollars. And that's all you can do is follow the money. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.
Willfulness, and that charge of willfulness is a felony. Should not have been misdemeanor.
We will cover it all this week. Lucas Tomlinson in Washington. Thanks, Lucas.
All right, more on this from the two IRS whistleblowers on Capitol Hill this week. Let's talk to Republican Congressman from New York and member of the House Oversight Committee, Nick Langworthy. Congressman, thanks for taking time. You heard Lucas's great there.
Thank you all for coming today. Since taking the gavel in January, the Committee on Oversight and Accountability has accelerated its investigation of the Biden family's domestic and international business practices that we began last Congress. I want to be clear. This committee is investigating President Biden and his family's shady business deals that capitalized on Joe Biden's public office and risked our country's national security. This committee has a duty to ask questions and pursue the facts, no matter where they take us. Through the committee's investigation, we intend to provide transparency to the American people and reach legislative solutions. In only 4 months since obtaining subpoena authority, we have made astonishing progress. Today, we'll talk about that progress. First, we want to discuss information the committee has learned since our last press conference in November. New information investigators have uncovered regarding the transfer of money from foreign entities to the Biden family. Many of the wire payments occurred while Joe Biden was vice president and leading the United States efforts in these countries. First instance, while Vice President Biden was lecturing Romania on anti-corruption policies, in reality he was a walking billboard for his son and family to collect money. Hunter Biden and his associates capitalized on a lucrative financial relationship with a Romanian national who was under investigation for and later convicted of corruption in Romania. The Bidens received over $1 billion for the deal, and 16 of the 17 payments to their associates' account that funneled the Biden's money occurred while Joe Biden was vice president. In fact, the money stops flowing from the Romanian national soon after Joe Biden leaves the vice presidency. This is a pattern of influence peddling. This appears separate from any payment Hunter received from his work connecting this individual to a U.S. law firm. We'll also provide further information regarding the Biden's relationship with China. This includes 2 individuals the committee is particularly concerned about. One of them, Xi Jinping, had close ties to the highest levels of the Chinese Communist Party and operated a multi-billion-dollar energy company with access to large sums of money. We'll discuss how the Bidens received millions of dollars from this individual through the use of shell companies and wire transfer. In March, the committee released its first bank records memorandum that showed a Biden associate, Rob Walker, used his company to funnel money from the Chinese to various Biden family members. Democrats dismissed the evidence, even though it was based on bank records directly from the bank. The Democrats on the Oversight Committee received the same records as the Republicans, and they were able to verify the information. Democrats said all the bank records showed were Papa John's and Starbucks receipts. They deliberately chose to misconstrue and deny what was clearly in front of them. Hunter Biden's representatives claimed the money was, quote, good faith seed funds, but could not explain why those funds had to go through an intermediary in what appears to be an attempt to hide the transfers from the Chinese. They also couldn't explain why the Bidens received over $1 million in 16 different wire transfers over a period of 3 months to at least 5 different banks. The president, when confronted with this information, said it wasn't true. lie to the American people now. The Bidens have received millions of dollars from China. It is inconceivable that the president did not know. The White House refuses to correct the president's statement, showing the president is now using the federal government to run interference for his families and his own role in these schemes. Now I want to say a few remarks about the developments last week. A week ago, I sent a subpoena to the FBI for a form that a whistleblower has alleged is in the FBI's possession. We hope the FBI will be transparent and forthcoming and provide the Oversight Committee with the 1023 form we have subpoenaed. If they do, the committee will assess the form it has subpoenaed from the FBI, and it has been my practice. We will report to you only facts when they are verified and indisputable. This committee will not pursue witch hunts or string the American people along for years with false promises of evidence that is beyond circumstantial evidence, as Representative Adam Schiff and the Democrats did for years. I trust the whistleblower. A subpoena from this committee is a powerful tool that I do not take lightly. The level of detail provided to Senator Grassley led me to conclude a subpoena was warranted, and I stand by that assessment. I will say this. When Senator Grassley approached me with the information the whistleblower provided, it was because of the information we've learned through this committee's own investigation that indicated to me the whistleblower's allegations are consistent with our independent findings. Those findings are what I called you here today to discuss. The committee has reviewed thousands of bank records from individuals and companies affiliated with the Bidens and their associates. It has received these bank records pursuant to 4 subpoenas I've issued to different banks. These were targeted and specific subpoenas, and each was different based on the information we believe the banks possessed. Every one of those subpoenas returned valuable information that had been unreported and that contributed to this committee's understanding of how the Bidens conducted their businesses. The committee is concerned by the complicated, suspicious network of over 20 companies we have identified the Bidens and their associates used to enrich themselves. Most of these companies were limited liability companies formed during Joe Biden's vice presidency. The bank records show the Biden family, their associates, and their companies received over $10 million from foreign nationals and their companies. Some of that money came from a Chinese company and went to Hunter Biden's company. Other transfers occurred with the help of Rob Walker, who then sent it on to different Biden family members. This is not how lawful businesses operate. Chinese nationals affiliated with the Bidens created limited liability companies in the United States, and then in a short period of time transferred their interest to a Chinese company that sent money to the Bidens. This is not normal. Hunter Biden and his associates courted business in countries that correlated directly with Joe Biden's work as vice president. This is also not normal. It is not ethical. And this is why we need legislative solutions. Our purpose here is to provide legislative solutions to prevent this unethical behavior from ever happening again. This investigation is about investigating allegations of corruption and fraud at the highest levels of the federal government. This should be a bipartisan issue. This committee is considering legislation that would ensure these sorts of business practices do not continue for Democrats or Republicans. Specifically, the committee is crafting legislative solutions aimed at deficiencies it has identified in ethics laws and disclosure laws for immediate family members of Vice President and the President. These deficiencies potentially place American national security and American interest at risk. Additionally, the committee is considering legislation that would strengthen reporting requirements related to certain foreign transactions involving senior elected officials' family members. Finally, the committee is evaluating the Bank Secrecy Act and anti-money laundering laws to determine whether financial institutions have the available tools and support from federal agencies to thwart illegal money laundering and foreign corruption activity. As I said, I'm very pleased with the progress the committee is making in this investigation. However, due to the information we're releasing today and further developments the committee is aware of, the investigation will enter a new phase now that is armed with information obtained in the bank records. I'll soon issue a new round of subpoenas to banks for specific targeted information. I will also provide one more opportunity for certain Biden associates, including his Art Gallis and Rob Walker, to cooperate willingly with this investigation. Finally, I'm publicly releasing the second bank accounts memorandum to the American people so they can see for themselves the activities the Biden family is engaged in, despite the president's statement to the contrary. I want to thank the people and financial institutions that have cooperated with this investigation so far. I also want to encourage more people to come forward and let them know that their information will be kept private and confidential. To my Democrat colleagues, I want to say that this investigation will continue to move forward. Do you want to continue covering up the Biden's influence peddling schemes when the evidence is being placed right in front of you? With or without Democrat support, we will continue working to deliver the answers, transparency, and accountability that the American people deserve. I now turn to Andy Biggs, who will provide some information.
Thank you, Chairman Comer. We appreciate your leadership on this very, very significant issue to the direction of this country, and we appreciate your leadership and appreciate my colleagues who are here today, and also the great staff that has done such incredible work on behalf of this committee in reviewing these records and helping us to obtain them. Thank you. And thank you to those of you who are here from the media today. So when we talk about the Biden family and associates, I think it's important for the American people to understand what we mean when we're talking about these associates. What are we really getting at? First, they use them as vehicles to move money directly into Biden family accounts. Why is that? It's because they were looking to obfuscate and hide where the money was coming from. For example, the Bidens used their associate Rob Walker to bring in millions of dollars from China and Romania. Walker's limited liability company, Robinson Walker LLC, paid Hunter, James, Hallie, and others in the Biden network more than $2 million after foreign money hit his account. 1/3 to the Bidens. That was the pattern. For example, on March 1st, 2017, only 2 months after Joe Biden left office, Robinson Walker received a $3 million wire from State Energy HK Limited, a Chinese entity. The next day, 1/3 of that money, $1,065,000, went to the bank account in Abu Dhabi of the company EEIG, which was controlled by James Gilliam, another Biden associate. Over the next 3 months, Robinson Walker LLC sent 16 incremental payments to over 5 different Biden accounts, totaling $1,065,692. This included payments to James Biden, who received 5 wires and over $50,000, who did no discernible work to earn that money.
Can't nobody tell you what he said because he don't even know what he said.
What was State Energy HK Limited? That is a second class of Biden associates, the people from whom the Bidens conducted business. State Energy HK Limited was a company controlled by Yi Jianming. Yi was a Chinese billionaire who was reportedly the former Deputy Secretary Counsel for an international outreach arm for the People's Liberation Army. It's called the China Association for International Friendly Contact. According to a U.S. agency, that organization is a platform for deploying undercover intelligence gatherers. Chairman Yi started an energy company called CEFC, China. He explained in a speech to the committee that the committee has obtained and translated into English that CEFC China's vision is very simple. It is to obtain overseas resources and serve the national strategy. Not U.S. national strategy, Chinese national strategy. And Chinese national strategy is Chinese Communist Party's strategy. He was close to Chinese President Xi Jinping and welcomed at least one foreign president to Beijing with Xi.
The DOJ has referenced Yi and CEFC in a scheme bribing African leaders. The other Chinese national I'll mention now is Gong Wendong, who did work for Yi in America. When Yi needed to do business in America, he often looked to Gong Wendong. The amount of money Yi was sending to Gong Wendong was staggering. From June through August of 2017 alone, Yi transferred to Gong Wendong in America more than $130 million. He met with Hunter Biden in February 2017 and gave him a diamond reportedly worth tens of thousands of dollars as a gift. In August of 2017, Yi, through Gong Wendong, opened up a business with Hunter and James Biden called Hudson West 3, based here in Washington, D.C. And Hunter wanted to get Joe Biden's keys to the office, and they could all share office space together, according to an email verified by the Washington Post. But things didn't go as planned because the Chinese detained Yi in March of 2018 for fraud. In an email to Gong Wendong and another associate, Hunter tried to explain away the last year of doing business together. This is an email that has also been verified by the Washington Post. Hunter wrote, and I quote, "I am not in a joint venture with CEFC. I'm not partners with CEFC, and I'm not employed nor funded by CEFC." Close quote. But Hunter was funded by CEFC, as Ms. Mace will explain. I'm extremely concerned about the president's connections to these individuals he was supposedly meant to share office space with, and is denied knowing anything about these transactions and these business dealings, and also is denied receiving any money for himself or his family from Chinese connections. That has been proven to be a lie. Now you back, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I appreciate it. Next one, Ms. Mace.
Thank you, Chairman Comer, for your leadership. In less than 100 days of subpoena power, this has been one of the most in-depth investigations the House Oversight Committee has ever had in recent history. And I would hope that the media here today would put as much attention and interest and focus on this as they have a former president. For years, the left has said, no one is above the law. Put your money where your mouth is and prove that. Because the American people do not trust the federal government. They don't trust Congress. They don't even trust current presidents because of the kind of possible and alleged corruption that we see at every level of government, and no one is ever held to account. I try to call the balls and strikes regardless of whether or not you have an R or D by your name. I've been accused, all of us have been, over this particular issue that we're conspiracy theorists. We're not. What we're proving to you today is showing you actual bank records, actual evidence of shell companies and businesses, or more businesses and more Bidens involved than we knew of. You have to issue more subpoenas because every time we turn over a rock, there's more information, there's more possible corruption, there's more possible allegations that need to be investigated. This is what we know today. Money flowed from the Chinese Communist Party, aligned with individuals into American shell companies, and then that money was wired and transferred to Biden family members. This could be the most corrupt scheme in American politics, where a sitting vice president, where we saw members of his family, 9 members so far, there may be more, that were enriched from countries all over the world. And we're providing more information about Romania today. We know about China. We know that the president denied this during an election in 2020, continues to deny it to this day. And we want everyone held accountable if they have violated their oath of office. We shouldn't have folks that are in office that are betraying their oath of office. We shouldn't have people in office that are betraying their country. If they're paying loads of cash to their family members from adversaries of ours around the world, it's wrong, whether you have a Republican or a Democrat by your name. And we saw evidence of intentionally taking steps to hide the sources of money coming directly from China through a series of financial gymnastics. Joe Biden's political career was winding down at the time, and this was one of the Biden family's last chances to cash in on the name. And we have evidence of Chairman Yi Jinping, who is believed to be affiliated with Chinese Communist Party intelligence organizations and has even been accused of gathering intel for communist China. Yi started CEFC in China. His agent in America, Gong Wendong, which Andy Biggs mentioned earlier, formed CEFC Infrastructure Investment U.S. on May 11th, 2017. On May 18th of 2017, Dong used one of his Chinese companies, Shang Huaxin, to fund CEFC infrastructure in an attempt to hide the source of the money. And you see this pattern. repeated over and over and over again. On June 30th, 2017, Shanghai Huaxin sent $10 million from China to CEFC Infrastructure. Then on August 4th, 2017, CEFC Infrastructure wired $100,000 directly to Hunter Biden's own corporation, Owasco PC. Hunter's Owasco also received $500,000 from another entity affiliated with Yi, State Energy HK Limited. State Energy HK appears to be part of Yi's personal slush fund that potentially commit bribery and launder money. The Chinese Communist Party affiliated entities may apply influence with the Bidens that they couldn't get otherwise, and obviously for good reason. These alleged layering schemes are repetitive. They knew what they were doing, they knew how to do it, and they did it multiple times all over the world. And if it looks complicated and sounds complicated, it was intentionally made to be complicated so you could not follow the money. What we're trying to do today is show you how to follow the money. The Committee of Oversight, we need to pursue the Chinese relationship with the Serbian politician Vuk Jeremic, who first attempted to introduce Yi to the Bidens in 2015. From August 2015 to June of 2016, State Energy HK paid Jeremic's company $3 million. When Jeremic ran for UN Security General, who did he turn to? It appears he turned to Hunter Biden. On June 16, 2016, Jeremic wrote to Hunter asking if he could meet with the Vice President's National Security Advisor, Colin Kahl, related to the elections for UN Security General. The meeting appears to have happened because on July 2nd, 2016, Jeremic informed Hunter that my meeting, quote, with Colin did not last very long, but it didn't go too bad, I think. What is suboptimal is that the Office of the Vice President seems to be outside the decision-making loop on the UN Security General elections issue. These people didn't come to Hunter Biden because he understood world politics or that he was experienced in it, or that he understood Chinese businesses. They wanted him for the access his last name gave them. Access to the Chinese Communist Party they couldn't otherwise get. In March of 2017, the same Chinese company that sent $3 million to Vuk Jeremic sent $3 million to one of Biden's associates, who siphoned off 30%. As Annie Biggs mentioned, we see that repeated over and over again. Siphoned off 30% or $1 million to Hunter Biden, James Biden, Hallie Biden, why she would need that, and an unknown Biden bank account. The committee has written to Vuk Jeremic and Rob Walker, but they have both refused to cooperate with the Oversight Committee. The Biden family needs to answer for this, and the DOJ needs to get off its ass and investigate. We've done the work for them so they can't screw it up now. If these allegations, any of these allegations are proven true, then someone with the last name Biden needs to be charged, prosecuted, maybe spend a little time in prison to take to account and responsible for the actions they've taken today. Also, as mentioned by the chairman, I want to thank you. The legislative priorities we have of our committee, this is not a witch hunt. This is not a conspiracy theory. If there are anti-corruption laws that need to be made stronger, we will also do that. I appreciate your time today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next we have Representative Armstrong.
Thank you, Chairman Comer, and thanks for everybody for all the hard work. One of the common responses we hear about this investigation is that it all happened after Joe Biden left office. But that is not true. I'm going to detail a specific set of payments made to members of the Biden family from Gabriel Popovich during Joe Biden's time as vice president. The committee has obtained the bank records for one of the companies of a close Biden associate, Rob Walker. Walker used his company, Robinson Walker LLC, to receive money from foreign companies. He then sent the money to various Bidens, including Hunter Biden, James Biden, Hallie Biden, and another Biden account. Walker's LLC received 17 payments from Bladen Enterprises Limited. The first payment was made in November of 2015, and the last payment happened in May of 2017. 16 of the 17 payments occurred while Joe Biden was vice president. Bladen Enterprises is affiliated with Romanian businessman Gabriel Popovich. Popovich is a Romanian businessman who, at the time of these payments, was subject of a high-profile corruption investigation. In fact, he was convicted of one such obstruction charge in 2016. Popovich's company paid Walker LLC just over $3 million. And like clockwork, Walker dispersed approximately $1 million of that money to the Bidens. If that sounds familiar, it should. It's essentially the same structure Walker and the Biden family had with the Chinese money, a one-third cut. So what were the vice president's duties related to Romania at this time? Well, in May of 2014, Vice President Biden visited Romania and delivered a speech about corruption, saying it can represent a clear and present danger not only to a nation's economy, but to its very national security. And in September of 2015, Vice President Biden welcomed the Romanian president to the White House, and they spoke about anti-corruption policies. 5 weeks later, after the White House meeting, Rod Walker's company's bank accounts began receiving payments from Popovich's company. Walker then sent a portion of each installment payment to Hunter Biden's business, Owasco, and another company, EEIG, which was owned by close Hunter
Joe
Biden
Biden is an illegitimate president who should be in prison.
Hunter claims is his, and in one case, $10,000 to Haley Biden.
Not running no business.
The $3 million sent to Rob Walker and dispersed to the Biden family appears completely separate and distinct from legal work performed by the law firm associated with Hunter Biden. This is simply not how legal fees are paid. I spent 10 years collecting legal fees. Nobody would pay or receive payments this way. It makes absolutely no sense. And again, the structure is the same as the Chinese payments. If it's for legal fees, why are the deals the same? In fact, it's very hard to come up with any legitimate business reason to conduct transactions in this type of complex way. Why would separate payments go to Hunter Biden's business and to himself individually? Why would Walker transfer money from his business account to his personal account before distributing the money? Why are other Biden family members receiving any of these payments? We need to understand more about this $3 million deal. But it's clear that the pattern shows 2 separate foreign countries paid millions of dollars through Walker, of which the Biden family received a 1/3 cut. These payments, their timing, the complexity of the money transfer or transactions, all warrant further investigation into a possible influencing peddling scheme. This is simply not how legitimate business is conducted. And the fact that Vice President Joe Biden was lecturing the Romanian people about corruption while his family was being paid over $1 million from a Romanian businessman who was being prosecuted for corruption would be laughable if it wasn't so troubling. A long time ago, I had a client got stopped. It's $50,000 in cash, 11 burner phones, and a bunch of pawn shop money tickets in his car.
Our legal system is a piece of shit because the ones that's running it is a piece of shit. How can you get any type of justice when the criminals are the ones running the justice system?
All over the world are complex. We get it. But the pattern is emerging, and there is no reason that legitimate business is ever conducted in this manner. And with that,
thank you, Mr. Carter. Next, we have Representative Lawler.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for being here, everybody. A couple things. First, what we're seeing here, what we're witnessing with the Biden family, frankly, is just a web of concealment, of deception. A lot of people would say corruption. But let's be very clear. You have this many companies involved in this velocity of transactions, size of transactions. Like my colleagues have said, this is not how normal businesses operate. I had the ability with Chairman Comer and other members of the committee to go over to the Treasury building and review documents. And having read those documents, one thing became pretty crystal clear, that there were many people who had serious questions about the transactions and about the velocity of these transactions. And they either get very, very, very deep into concealment, hiding money, shifting money. And for the purpose, we don't know, because one thing everybody in this room and the American people definitely know is that the Biden family doesn't really have a business. There is no business structure around this family except politics. And since Joe Biden has spent decades in the Senate, served 8 years as vice president, and is now president of the United States, and the family's getting money from various countries and foreign businesses through various shell companies in this web
We
of
got here a
LLCs.
bunch of fucking
Guys,
assholes.
you in the press. This is easy pickings. I'm giving you Pulitzer stuff here. Like, all you have to do is literally look at our memo and see the level of detail upon which they have created this. And it's very, very frustrating. We have now been able to clearly see that
And we can't get the legal system to do its fucking job. That's bullshit to me.
Created at least 16 companies while Joe Biden was vice president of the United States. 16 companies created while he was vice president. Now the list is 20, and as we continue our investigation, that list is growing. And like I said before, the question is, to serve what purpose? And the purpose purpose of all these companies being created
Launder money.
is to conceal money.
To launder money.
That the
To launder money. We keep saying to conceal money. Just say the word. Launder money.
At the upper echelon of our politics for almost 5 decades. That is the entire purpose here. Here's an example of what I mean. You have Rosemont Seneca Partners, Rosemont Seneca Advisors, Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners, RSP Holdings, RSTP2 Alpha, RSTP2 Bravo, Rosemont Seneca Thornton, Rosemont Seneca Bohai. I want to make sure I pronounce it right. Bohai, B-O-H-A-I. And the list goes on and on. Cycling through this many companies serves no legitimate purpose.
But to launder money through
who
them.
actually worked in banking, I did that long before I came here. Whenever there was like this many companies just laying all over the place,
You're laundering money.
and you see wire transfers,
You're laundering
cashier
money.
checks over
You're
here,
laundering
going
money.
to random members of the family for no apparent purpose,
You're
and
laundering
the
money.
size and velocity at which all of this is being conducted, the
laundering
only
money.
logical conclusion
You're
of a
laundering
financial
money.
professional is you are concealing money.
You're laundering money.
Let me restate this. You
You're
are concealing
laundering money. You're laundering
from
money.
the IRS, or from credit agencies,
You're
or
laundering
from
money.
other people in general. It's the only reason you set up a structure like
You're
this.
laundering money.
Some of these companies were connected to Hunter's personal professional company, Oswego, or Scale Atlas, however you want to pronounce it. And the list goes on, and Mr. Biggs, he talked about Hudson West 3 and some of those other issues that were going on as well. One thing I want to make sure is that all of this has happened, and Joe Biden is aware. Nobody in this room can logically sit here and say that the President of the United States had no idea that these companies were being formed while he was Vice President of the United States. And I will add you, he was in probably a better mental shape then than he is today. You know, I'll throw that out there. And so what this committee is going to continue to do is pursue this investigation. We're going to continue to document, and we're going to provide that information to all of you in the press. So to help
What
you,
the fucking do is nobody go to jail for
probably
it.
help the DOJ along with their investigation.
That's my whole
One
thing.
quick note, it's interesting
What
that
the
Department of
fucking
Justice
do
has been
is nobody go to
investigating
jail
Hunter
for
Biden
it.
for quite some time.
It don't fucking matter.
And we seem to just never really get anywhere. And so I think that's also interesting as well. I wonder what's going on at the Department of Justice. With that being said, the bottom line is there is no real business here. No. And let me also say this, because I know there are many in this room who wanted to go down all the various schemes that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle accused the former president of. Be very clear. The former president actually had a business, very big business. You could say it was his name, you could say it was his buildings, you could say it was wine, you could say it was branding, you could say it was The Apprentice, but he had a very big and legitimate business, which everybody in this room clearly knows and understands and can point to and say, that's the thing, that thing over there. Joe Biden has no business, except his position in politics.
He have no business doing what the fuck he did. He needs to be put in prison for it. Fuck all the bullshit.
Speak for themselves. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Lastly, we'll have Representative Jordan.
Suspicious activity reports. The
Come on
key
now.
word in that
Come on
phrase
now.
is the word
Suspicious.
There are
Shit.
170 of
Man, they
these
just do
reports
one of them on one of us.
together
We can't even get no
by
bank
the
account after that.
of our government in the Obama-Biden administration. So 170 of those that the committee has reviewed, thousands of pages of bank records the committee has reviewed, and that has told us that there are now multiple, as Mr. Donald just said, multiple LLCs receiving money from foreign entities and paying that money out to multiple members of the Biden family. And the fundamental question is the one Byron just raised.
Why?
For what? What did they do? What was the business? What service did they provide? What value did they add? What did they do to warrant receipt of the money? That is the fundamental question, and no one seems to have an answer to that fundamental question.
No one asked.
But Mr. Comer, Chairman Comer, and the team, that's what we're looking into, trying to get. And I would just say this too, why not just come clean? Why not just be honest with us? Why not tell us the truth? But I would tell you this, I think it's a pattern with this administration. They haven't been square with us, straight with the American people about anything. They tell us the border is secure. We know it isn't. They tell us our debt ceiling bill is going to hurt veterans. No, it doesn't. Joe Biden said during the campaign that the letter from 51 former intel officials, when he used in the debate, he portrayed it as if it was organic, and we now know, through another investigation that we're all working on, that in fact it was coordinated. That letter from 51 former intel officials was coordinated with the Biden campaign, so much so, the Biden campaign told Mike Morrell, here's the journalist we want you to have the story to, the letter to first. Why not just be straight with us? Why not come clean? Why not tell us the truth? Tell the American people the truth. They deserve that from their government. Again, the fundamental question is, what did they do to warrant the receipt of millions and millions of dollars? Why did Joe Biden's brother? Why did Joe Biden's sister-in-law? Why did Joe Biden's son? Why did so many family members get the money? What did they do to warrant receipt of that money? That's the fundamental question. Chairman Comer and the team have done great work, and they're determined to get answers to those fundamental questions.
I want to thank the committee. I want to thank the staff for all the time pouring through these documents. Now we would like to entertain questions, and I want to begin with the fourth largest newspaper in the state, who I read somewhere was banned from the White House, but we'll start with the New York Post.
Thank you, Chairman Comer.
You're always welcome here.
I'd like to ask you two questions. First, about the investigative next steps, and secondly, about the FBI informant file that we're seeking. Regarding next steps, you produced a significant amount of information so far about foreign incomes to the president's family. No doubt there's going to be more to come. But are you going to be able to prove with such a thesis that President Biden was directly involved in corruption without getting bank records for either President Biden, James Biden, Hunter Biden, showing the transfer of money or the payments of expenses that President Biden should have picked up himself? And secondly, on the FBI informant file, are you going to be able to provide us any more information today on gaps such as which country pertains to? And is there any evidence that President Biden has altered bank accounts?
Well, first of all, with respect to President Biden, I don't think anyone in America who's watching C-SPAN or any other network that's covering this would think that it's just a coincidence that 9 Biden family members have received money for this influence peddling scheme. I mean, what as Representative Jordan and the other speakers said, what business is there? The media has always said two things. First of all, many in the media have said that no transactions happened while Joe Biden was vice president. We've proven that wrong. Joe Biden said during 2020 that his family never took any money from China. Today we've proven that wrong, and you have it in your memorandum, the bank transfers. So we believe that the president has been involved in this from the very beginning, obviously. We're going to continue to look. There are, what we've cited today and what we're updating you with today, 4 banks. Those result from 4 banks. We believe there are 12 banks. So right now, you could say that we're in the beginning stages of this investigation, but many of you wrote, I read your stories, many of you wrote, not the New York Post, but many of you wrote that we would never get access to bank records because that's what the White House told you. And they said we'd never have access to the Treasury because that's what the White House and Jamie Raskin told you. But we have the bank records. We're going to get more bank records. We just got the bank records from going through the associates. We knew there were people that were wiring money, that were accepting the initial payments from our adversaries around the world. And
that painting is like, I got you, bit. That's what that is.
Oh, right.
You got a president who was on the flight logs 26 times with Epstein, and you got that guy in a dress in your house.
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Benny. What happens when you're guilty of some of those heinous crimes known to man? Being a sick predator, being caught up and entrapped by somebody who is being run by the deep state in order to get leverage over powerful people. That's what Jeffrey Epstein was. Jeffrey Epstein, and this has been proven, was now a CIA and FBI asset, giving people up, giving people over to the CIA and the FBI in order for them to have leverage over for powerful people. Who's really in charge of this country? It ain't the people you elect. The people who are really in charge of this country, they don't ever put their names on a ballot. Oh, how dirty, how filthy. No. They run the people who put the names on the ballot. Bill Clinton's one of those people who's caught up with Epstein. Epstein was obviously an influence asset for the deep state, and he was able to ensnare members of the royal family, billionaires, and also Bill Clinton. This is stated accurately and factually by Joe Rogan in his most recent podcast, suggesting that Bill Clinton was blackmailed by Epstein over 26 trips to pedophile private plane island, claims infamous painting of the president in a blue dress, saying, "I got you." Remember this one? Well, there's the Epstein Island. Remember this? This is the painting inside of Jeffrey Epstein's penthouse. This is the famous blue dress that had Bill Clinton's genetic material on it that got Bill Clinton impeached, Monica Lewinsky's blue dress, and he's sitting there. What is this message? He's wearing the red heels. What is this message of this cross-dressing Bill Clinton in the stained dress? This is exactly what Joe Rogan says it is. It's a message from Jeffrey Epstein saying, you can't ever touch me because I have all of the dirt on you.
Epstein had that giant painting of Bill Clinton in a dress in his foyer. Dude, do you know that picture?
Yeah.
That painting?
Epstein's taste in art was not great. Like, if you look at the
No,
shit...
that was great. That painting is like, I got you. That's what that is.
Oh, right.
You got a president who was on the flight logs 26 times with Epstein, and you got that guy in a dress in your house.
Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry, dude. I'm officially done. Because I found out about that picture, and I've just been like, why would he...
These are the people that will allow them to run our business and lead us.
That's just the, like, hey, yeah.
That's like that.
Wow. How gullible and stupid we
That's
are.
terrifying. Imagine
The guinea
I knew
pigs.
some horrible dark secrets about you, and you came over my house, and I have a giant painting of you, like right when you walk into the front door, of you in a dress.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, buddy.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah.
You're right.
How terrifying that would be?
That's terrifying.
You know he knows about it. I mean, you walk right in, and bam, there's that painting.
And now you kind of control the president.
Holy dude.
Holy dude, yeah, here's the flight logs, just in case you needed to be reminded. Here's Bill Clinton on the Epstein Island flight logs on their way to Epstein Island to do what exactly? Oh, who knows? Why isn't he ever asked about it? Why does nobody ever ask? Here's CNN. Jeffrey Epstein, former pilot, testifies Bill Clinton flew aboard Epstein's private plane. Curious that. Why has no one ever asked? In fact, when people do ask questions, it goes like this.
Any follow-up on allegations of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein?
Yes, I think the evidence speaks for itself, says Bill. Bill Clinton says that problem's been taken care of. Yeah, that's right. The way that the Clintons always take care of their problems. That's why there's a Clinton body count section of Wikipedia that goes through the number of victims that the Clintons... Look at how long the Clinton is. Oh, man, is Epstein on this list? Ah, there he is. Okay, Jeffrey Epstein. Convicted sex offender Epstein being held on federal charges. Child sex trafficking. Found dead in his cell inside of a maximum high-security prison with all the cameras turned off, with way too many linens in his prison, even though he was ordered to have a cellmate so that he couldn't commit suicide. He was already on suicide watch, and the guards fell asleep. Got it? Yeah, got it. You morons. There was a man who once asked questions about this.
Bill Clinton. A nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
Yeah, okay. Maybe that was the moment that they said, we got to get rid of Trump. I think so. Because everybody knew what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. Everyone knew what was going on. There are a lot of things you can say about the McCain family. Virtually none of them are nice, and I would agree with you on all of them. But there is something that is absolutely 100% factual, whether you love the McCains or hate the McCains, is that those people had deep connections to American intelligence, to American national defense and national secrets. The McCains knew. Okay, John McCain ran for president. John McCain was Mr. Defense Department. Dude, John McCain and the McCain family knew what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. Listen to this.
In plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was, legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
Oh, well, why would they be afraid of Jeffrey Epstein? Why indeed? Why indeed? Why is it that everybody seems to have covered up for this man, including but not limited to corporate media reporters who had the Clintons in their reporting?
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had horrible allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate as well that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for...
This was, of course, an undercover ABC News reporter. Well, this was an undercover video that was being taken of an on-air talent for ABC News who's no longer with the network, you see, because you can't have somebody asking these kind of questions. No. Speaking of being no longer with the network, not long after Tucker Carlson started asking questions about the official story of Jeffrey Epstein's death, the official story is that Jeffrey Epstein just happened to slip in his cell, you see, and he had a bunch of pajamas tied around his neck, and there you go, now he's dead. And it's very convenient for all of the monsters and all of the sex pests and predators that helped facilitate Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking. It's very, very convenient for the Bill Gates of the world, the Bill Clintons of the world. Very convenient indeed. There's only one man who asked these questions on the most watched TV show on cable news, and we all know what happened to him.
No one came in or out of the tier, Barr said. Therefore, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. So let's consider that claim rationally. On the night of August 9th, Jeffrey Epstein was being held in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan, the most secure part of the city's federal lockup. It would be physically impossible for a stranger to get in and out of this facility without an electronic pass, and without being seen by the countless cameras in place between the street and the locked 9th floor of the building. So if Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, he was not murdered by an intruder, someone who came into the tier. He was murdered by someone on his own cell block, obviously. There were 7 other cells on Epstein's tier, and each one housed dangerous criminals. So if you were looking for a killer, you would figure out who was in those cells. But no one seems to have thought of that or done it. The Bureau of Prisons refused to provide us with a list of the inmates on Epstein's tier. It's not clear how many of them were even interviewed by investigators, despite the fact that some of them were transferred out of the facility shortly after Epstein's death. That's a baffling oversight. Instead, Attorney General Bill Barr simply assured the country that no one from outside came into Jeffrey Epstein's tier and declared the case solved. And if you think about it, that is a remarkable way to assess a potential crime scene, especially when you consider the source. Bill Barr was not a civilian or a crime novel aficionado. He was the chief law enforcement officer of the United States. He was the nation's top cop. His job was to solve crime. And yet somehow, with all his law enforcement experience, it never seemed to dawn on Bill Barr that if there was a killer, the killer would have come from one of the cells on Epstein's tier. And then further, apparently, no one in the entire FBI suggested this to Bill Barr as they reviewed the case. The chief minister took it. It doesn't matter what the camera outside the tier shows. What matters is what happens inside the tier.
So, yeah, you want want to know who the real powerful people are in the country?
I grew up on
Who can you not criticize? What questions can you not ask?
which is what we called it.
And when the most powerful people in the world start asking those questions, they're going to start lashing out. Tucker Carlson gets fired. What's going to happen to Joe Rogan next? I don't know. Protect that man.
Get us back up to James. So there's a lot of truth to it.
This is exactly the question you need to be asking. Why are they so quick to cover up for Jeffrey Epstein? Everybody knew what he was doing, but no one would go after him. I wonder why. The answer is, of course, communism. These people want to control everything. They need leverage, power over the powerful people to do that. And that's how they maintain control. Okay.
His support has gone somewhere. Some of it's gone back to Trump, but some of it's gone to another opponent.
Deeply duplicitous.
And that is Vivek Ramaswamy. Here's a